So this happened. Cardano, they got acknowledged by not only just any company, but literally the largest company in Brazil currently. I'll talk about this in today's video. I'll talk about the impact when it comes to Cardano. I'll talk about why I think this matters, and I'll discuss the price of ADA, which is Cardano's native token, a little bit later. But I first want to clarify, I'm not telling anyone to do anything, and nothing I say is financial advice. So if we take a look at it, Petrobras, which is the largest company in Brazil as of right now, just opened its headquarters to Cardano in terms of the foundation last week, in which some of the team members, when it comes to the Cardano Foundation, they went over to Brazil and visited the Petrobras headquarters. Now, people like to say, well, why does that matter though? Well, it's because Cardano has a partnership with them, right? And what is it even about? Now, primarily, their partnership is about blockchain education for Petrobras employees, but there are some other aspects to it as well, like for instance, practical enterprise applications on Cardano, and then with ongoing exploration of energy sector use cases. So this isn't like the most interesting thing of all time, some people may argue, but I think it's a very crucial one at that because it showcases Cardano's efforts and how it's being recognized. Could you imagine how embarrassing it might be if, let's say, they weren't recognized? Well, thankfully they are, right? And some people like to say, oh, Petrobras doesn't care about Cardano, but it seems kind of like the opposite because, having something like the Cardano Foundation in terms of its team going to the headquarters of Petrobras, that signals, in my opinion, that not only does Petrobras, value the partnership with Cardano, but also vice versa. And keep in mind, Cardano has a very massive presence in Brazil, arguably. They have a partnership with the Brazilian Olympic Committee. And then also on top of that, they recently went to Blockchain Rio, which was a very massive conference. So they're doing things. And also keep in mind, during the visit to Brazil last week, basically, the Cardano Foundation, they also went to Brasilia, which is the capital city of Brazil, right? And if we take a look at it, they went to the University of Brasilia, in which case there was an event there. Yeah, I mean, that was pretty cool. So again, they're doing things. Not only were they in Rio, but they also went to Brasilia. So again, Cardano is doing things, and I think this is especially crucial because in terms of population, Brazil has over 200 million people. So I think what Cardano is doing in Brazil really does matter. And not to mention, not too long ago, they had a workshop there in Brazil in the city of Recife. That was pretty impressive too, because when it comes to Cardano, they're just doing a lot of things in Brazil. Now, if we take a look at it, people like to tell me, could you imagine this? Oh, wow, if ADA is down, almost 4% in the past 24 hours, why is Cardano doing all of this even an important thing? Like, why does it all even matter? Well, it's because what Cardano is doing, like for instance, with his partnership in regard to Petrobras, with, what they're doing with the Brazilian Olympic Committee, and also many other partnerships that they have, what that is for the long term. It's not necessarily for short-term price appreciation purposes. That's not the case. Their intent there is to improve, I think, for the long term, not for, short-term hype or attention. That's not the case. So when people often associate long-term, I guess, objectives with short-term results, it's often a mismatch because the short-term results is not meant to be affected usually by something that is meant for the long term. So when people like to say, well, ADA, it's at around 20 cents, this is not good and all this. But again, what Cardano is doing is not meant to hype things up. It's not meant to, create a lot of commotion in the short term. No, that's not the case. Their intent, again, is for the long haul. This type of stuff is what's going to affect Cardano for many years to come. Not necessarily what's it going to do in the next 5 months or 2 months or whatever. This is not a partnership with a celebrity or an athlete, right? This is not what they're doing. They're literally partnering up with the Brazilian Olympic Committee, with Petrobras and all this. It's not like they're hiring some random celebrity to talk about Cardano. It doesn't seem like they're doing that. So yes, when it comes to ADA, it's back at around 20 cents. Now people like to say, does that mean the previous rally that we saw, like the around 20% recovery that we saw in the past week, people like to say, well, is that just a fluke? Like, was that just, a flash in the pan, basically. Now, there's really no way to know that, in my opinion, because how can I know exactly what's going to happen next? Even if I pulled up a price chart and I drew some random triangles, the market's not going to care. But one thing I am doing is that I am holding for the long term. Even though I'm not telling anyone to do anything, it's the point where these short to medium term price movements, they don't affect me because this is not my time horizon. It's like, for instance, let's say a developer, builds in a certain city or a certain town. Sometimes their mindset might be decades, in which case whatever happens in the first couple of years or even in the first 10 years, it may not matter too much to them, right? Because their objective is for the long term. It's no different here when it comes to me. To me, if ADA, let's say, goes from around 16 or 17 cents to 20 cents, it's kind of like so minuscule in the grand scheme of things because $1 is what I saw pretty much last year, right? Almost around that range. And it wasn't even that tough anyways when it comes to Cardano. If we take a look at ADA as of right now being at around 20 cents, could you imagine this, right? These are levels that are literally back at a level which we've seen many, many years ago. I am not joking. For instance, if we take a look at ADA back in, let's say, 2017, it was at around 20 cents. So these are levels that we've seen, right, or was once seen, I should say, nearly a decade ago. So when people like to say, wow, this is so bad, I get it. But could you imagine? Like ADA's all-time high is approximately $3, right? So, from around 20 cents to $3, that's around a 15 times movement. I get it. It may seem bad as of right now, which, the price is low. I'm totally aware of that. But the lower something is, sometimes the farther away it is from its ceiling. And we have seen the ceiling when it comes to ADA historically. It's been at around $3. So 20 cents historically is so low, which I don't know why I would view it as a bad thing because I don't mind the quote unquote dip. That's just my mindset though, right? Now, again, I'm never, trying to find a moment to just go all in like that. No, I'm not doing that. Personally, what I'm doing, even though I am not telling anyone to do anything, I am dollar cost averaging approximately once a month. That's really about it. So it's just like once a month like that. So it's just 12 times a year. That's it. Do I know when things will recover? No, but I am holding and I'm waiting because if the market were to kind of recover, it's just kind of like hypothetically going along with the ride without even me having to find the perfect moment, if that kind of makes sense. And I think the around 20% recovery in the past week showcases that sometimes things happen when we least expect them to do so. Like, for instance, a lot of people were saying, oh, wow, the market was going to go down and all this. And it might go down, but look at how quickly that recovery happened in the past 7 days. And this is not an altcoin season, right? This is just like random like that. So imagine if there was a hypothetical altcoin season, sometimes it could just happen randomly, and maybe it could happen a lot more rapidly than what we saw previously. Like what we saw in the past week, like during an actual altcoin season, like around a 20% recovery, sometimes it doesn't take a week. Sometimes we've seen some projects out there during an altcoin season, right, have that recovery in like hours or even just days. So what I saw recently, I think was just kind of a hypothetically small taste of anything. Not even that, not even the appetizer. And in the grand scheme of things, ADA is still very low. So if ADA just goes back to $1, it's around 5 times away. Just goes back to around $3, around 15 times away. Either or, I'm not going to complain if it could go back to that. And those are moments we've seen before, right? ADA would not need to break any sort of new records to go back to $1 or $3. No, it doesn't need to break any sort of records. If it just goes back there, it's literally returning back to a point we've seen before. And if ADA could do that, I'm already quite happy actually. If it could, who knows at this point, but I'm just still holding. And I'm just saying that to kind of showcase that $1 wasn't even such a high bar to begin with when it comes to ADA, yet we're around 5 times away from that. That's just kind of what I realized. But even besides that point, I thought it was pretty cool lately seeing how the Cardano Foundation did go to Brazil and then they visited the Petrobras headquarters. So I thought it was really awesome. And I think it's a sign of acknowledgement, right? In a sense where Petrobras is acknowledging Cardano's efforts. So I thought that was really awesome and I felt like talking about it. However, yeah, I'll be sure to make more updates though in the future. So hopefully y'all stay tuned for that. It's been Lee the Captain, and I hope you all have a very wonderful and amazing day.